Religion has been a part of human society since the beginning of time, and with it comes a variety of fascinating and often unusual religious practices. From blood rituals to self-flagellation, from human sacrifice to ecstatic dance, the world's religions have been known to push the boundaries of what many consider to be acceptable behavior. In this video, we'll take a closer look at some of the most unusual religious practices from around the world, exploring the history, significance, and controversy behind these fascinating traditions. The Eleusinian Mysteries. The Eleusinian Mysteries were a set of secret religious rites and ceremonies that were held annually in the town of Eleusis, near Athens, in ancient Greece. The mysteries were dedicated to the goddesses Demeter and Persephone, who were associated with agriculture, fertility, and the cycle of life and death. The exact nature of the Eleusinian Mysteries is not known, as participants were sworn to secrecy, and no detailed accounts of the ceremonies were ever written down. However, it is believed that the rituals involved a journey of initiation and purification, during which participants experienced a symbolic death and rebirth. The mysteries were open to all Greek citizens, regardless of social status or gender, and were a major cultural event in ancient Greece. The festival lasted for 9 days and included feasting, drinking, and theatrical performances, as well as the secret religious ceremonies. The mysteries were considered to be of great spiritual and personal importance to the ancient Greeks, and were said to offer a glimpse into the mysteries of life and death. The rituals were so revered that even famous philosophers like Plato and Aristotle participated in them. The Eleusinian Mysteries continued to be practiced until the 4th century AD, when they were banned by the Christian Emperor Theodosius. Despite this, the mysteries have had a lasting impact on Western culture and continue to be the subject of study and speculation to this day. The Cult of Cybele. The Cult of Cybele was a religious cult that originated in ancient Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, and was later adopted by the Roman Empire. The cult was centered around the worship of the goddess Cybele, who was associated with fertility, nature, and wild animals. The cult was known for its frenzied, ecstatic rituals, which often involved self-mutilation and animal sacrifice. The cult's most devoted followers, known as the Galli, were eunuchs who castrated themselves as a sign of devotion to Cybele. The Galli would then dress in women's clothing and perform wild dances and rituals in her honor. The cult's rituals were considered shocking and scandalous by the Roman elite, and were often the subject of ridicule and persecution. However, the cult continued to grow in popularity, particularly among women and the lower classes. The cult's influence extended beyond religious practices and into the political and social realms. The cult was often associated with rebellious and anti-establishment movements, and its followers were known for their fierce loyalty to one another. Despite its controversial reputation, the Cult of Cybele continued to be practiced throughout the Roman Empire until the 4th century AD, when it was officially banned by the Christian Emperor Theodosius. Nevertheless, the cult's legacy can still be seen in modern-day traditions, such as the Carnival of Venice, which features elaborate costumes and masks similar to those worn by the Galli. The Egyptian Book of the Dead. The Egyptian Book of the Dead is a collection of funerary texts and spells that were created in ancient Egypt to guide the deceased through the afterlife. The The texts were written on papyrus scrolls and were often placed in the tombs of the deceased. The Book of the Dead consists of a variety of spells, incantations, and prayers, which were intended to help the deceased navigate the various obstacles and challenges that they would face in the afterlife. These challenges included passing through the gates of the underworld, avoiding dangerous creatures and demons, and facing judgment before the gods. The Book of the Dead was not a single text, but rather a collection of spells and texts that evolved over time. Some of the oldest known versions of the Book of the Dead date back to the 16th century BC, while later versions continued to be created up until the Roman period. The spells and texts of the Book of the Dead were often accompanied by elaborate illustrations and vignettes, which depicted the various scenes and challenges that the deceased would face in the afterlife. These illustrations were believed to have a magical quality and were intended to aid the deceased in their journey through the afterlife. Aztec human sacrifice. The Aztecs were known for their practice of human sacrifice, which was an important aspect of their religion and worldview. Aztecs believed that the gods needed human blood and hearts to maintain the cosmic order, and that human sacrifice was necessary to ensure the sun would continue to rise and the world would not end. The Aztecs would typically capture prisoners of war, who would then be taken to the top of a temple or pyramid and sacrificed in a ritual ceremony. The sacrifice could take many forms, including the removal of the heart, decapitation, or being thrown into a sacred well. The sacrifices were often performed in front of large crowds and were accompanied by music, chanting, and other rituals. Aztecs believed that the most honorable way to die was through sacrifice, and that those who were sacrificed would ascend to a special place in the afterlife. This belief was reflected in the Aztec term for sacrifice, nawali, which meant to give, to offer, rather than to kill. Human sacrifice was a highly ritualized practice in Aztec society, and was performed by specialized priests who were trained in the proper rituals and procedures. The sacrifices were often timed to coincide with specific religious or calendrical events, such as the equinoxes or solstices. The practice of human sacrifice was highly controversial and was condemned by many outsiders and conquistadors who encountered the Aztecs. The practice was eventually banned by the Spanish colonizers in the 16th century, although some smaller-scale sacrifices may have continued in secret. The Viking blood eagle. The blood eagle was a gruesome execution method that is often associated with Viking culture, although it is debated whether or not it was actually practiced by the Vikings. According to the sagas, a blood eagle involved the victim being placed face down, with their ribs separated from the spine. The lungs would then be pulled out through the wounds, creating the appearance of bloody wings. The victim would die a slow and painful death, and the ritual was intended to be a form of punishment for particularly heinous crimes or as a sacrifice to the gods. While the blood eagle is often portrayed as a common form of execution in Viking culture, there is limited historical evidence to support this claim. Many scholars believe that the blood eagle was an invention of the sagas, which were written down several centuries after the Viking Age and may have been influenced by Christian biases and a desire to portray the Vikings as barbaric and savage. There is also some debate over the practicality of the blood eagle as an execution method. Separating the ribs from the spine would require significant force and skill, and it is unclear whether or not this would be a feasible method of execution in a practical sense. Despite the uncertainty surrounding the blood eagle, it remains a popular and enduring image of Viking culture in popular culture and media. The brutality of the blood eagle continues to fascinate and shock people, and its legacy can be seen in modern depictions of Viking culture in books, movies, and television. While these ancient rituals no longer exist in their original form, they continue to have cultural and historical significance and may have had lasting impacts on the societies and cultures that practice them. While the Viking blood ritual is no longer practiced, it has become a popular subject in modern media, such as in books, movies, and TV shows. The popularity of Viking-themed entertainment may have contributed to a renewed interest in Viking culture and mythology, as well as to the growth of neo-pagan and heathen religious movements that draw inspiration from ancient Viking traditions. Aztec practice of human sacrifice is no longer practiced, but it continues to have cultural and historical significance in modern-day Mexico. Aztecs believed that human sacrifice was necessary to appease the gods and ensure the continuation of the world. While this belief is no longer held by modern Mexicans, the Aztec practice of sacrifice is still remembered and commemorated in many ways, such as in art, literature, and public events. These practices have left a lasting impression on the world, inspiring artists and writers throughout history and continuing to captivate our imagination today. While some of these practices may seem barbaric or extreme to modern sensibilities, they have played a vital role in shaping the beliefs and cultures of human society. By studying and understanding these unusual religious practices, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the diversity of human experience and the rich tapestry of our collective history. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and make sure to subscribe for more amazing content.